Hey, Pastor Justin Krupski with you all. It's May 5th, 2021. And I want to share with you something that I believe will give meaning and hope for you, I believe, and something that maybe you could share with people, not just this week, but beyond. This past year, certainly we've had a lot of grief. This past year here at Trinity, we've been talking a lot about refocusing, right? Refocusing in on Jesus and moving forward together in faith, hope, and love. This past year, many people have gone before us. Many people have gone to heaven because of COVID and certainly because of cancer, heart attacks, and other tragic deaths that have occurred. This week here at Trinity, I'm going to be with 4 different families. There's 5 services actually taking place, funerals. And the message that I continue to give, not just in a time of grief and a funeral, but a message I continue to give just throughout life, is a message that was shared the church in Corinth and also the church in Thessalonica and the church in Rome. It's a message about faith, hope, and love. And so I don't know what you're going through today, or if you know someone who's going through a time of grief or just a challenging time, but certainly I think just as we go through life, faith, hope, and love. What I'm going to share with these families this week, I want to share with you right now is, in the storms, Jesus is always asking us, right, where is your faith? Not just in the storms throughout life, but certainly in the storms, we see that in the gospel. Right? He's calling his disciples, he's calling God's children, his creation, to put their eyes on him, to put their eyes on him in the storm, and to have faith. I love what Jesus said in John chapter 11 when he told Martha, I am the resurrection and the life. Right? He who believes in me will never die. He will live, Martha. And then he asked Martha this question, do you believe this? Right? Do we believe that Jesus is the resurrection and the life? Because if we do, right, then we can have the hope of heaven. But our faith, right, is in the resurrection and life, Jesus. I love the calling just to walk by faith in Jesus. And I don't know where you are in your relationship with Jesus, right? But he's calling us just to trust in him. Come to me, he says, all you who are weary and burdened, I will give you rest. He says, I am the living water. I am the bread of life, right? I am the good shepherd. Jesus says that about himself, that he is the great I am, the God who was, is, and will always be, the God that we will be with forever in eternity, and those that have gone before us are with. And I love faith, right? Because faith is not about works, right? It's about receiving God's grace and saying, I believe in your grace. And when I think about heaven, right, certainly I don't know exactly what it's going to be like when we take our last breath here and our first breath there with Jesus. People like to talk about how Peter maybe is at the pearly gates, right? Why should I let you in? Right? I always picture what's going to happen is not because of what I've done, but because of what he's done. Where's Jesus? Because of what he's done, his work, right? Faith is trusting in Jesus, right? Trusting in his forgiveness, not just that he has the words of life, but that he himself is life, right? Faith, right? God's not done with you and me. We are still here right now. And so as we move forward through grief or just through life, God's always calling us to have faith. I love what Jesus says and promised in the Beatitudes, right? Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted, right? And so God comforts us. Jesus alone comforts us. He weeps with us. That's our faith. Our faith as we keep our eyes on him, right? And when there's faith, there's hope. Faith and hope, right? So again, we don't have faith in heaven. We have hope in heaven because we have faith in Jesus. And so often when I meet with families, I'm meeting with families this week, right? It's not goodbye. It wasn't goodbye the last time you saw your loved one. It's not goodbye in this moment. Right? It's until we meet again. Until we meet again. And there is hope, the hope of eternity, the hope that Jesus gave to that thief on the cross. Today you will be with me in paradise. Paradise, right? No more suffering, no more pain, no more sorrow. The great adventure that awaits. Paul says, for me to die is gain. For me to die is gain. Right? For me to live is Christ, but for me to die is gain. It's a win-win. In fact, it's a greater win to go to heaven, right? In Thessalonians, it says that we don't grieve as the world grieves. We grieve with hope, right? The hope and the promise of heaven that it's not goodbye. We will see our loved one again. That hope in his promises that says in all things God is working for the good of his children. The hope that says death is only the gate, the doorway to heaven. The hope that says what Song of Solomon said, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come away with me. For the winter is gone, the spring is here, true life. Right? When we have faith in Jesus, there's hope. And I pray that you just don't have faith in Jesus, but that you have that hope that Jesus gives, that hope of heaven. And certainly the scriptures say the greatest of these, greater than faith, greater than hope, is love. Is love. And certainly as we go through moments of grief with loved ones who have gone before us, right? There's a lot of love there. People want to give us love. They want to comfort us. But certainly that love that we've had with the loved one, right? That's why we mourn, because we miss that love. We experienced that love. But yet God says love remains, right? Love remains for that loved one as they go into heaven. If we picture what heaven is like, right? It's all love. It's a perfect place of love. But on this side of eternity, right? That's the mission that God calls us to, even in the midst of the storm, not just to have faith and hope, but to give love. Not just to receive love, but to give love. That is our purpose, and God's not done with any one of us yet. Right? He hasn't invited us into the mansion of heaven, into our Father's house yet. Right? So on this side of eternity, we get to practice love, little bits of heaven. And part of the grief process too, right? And many of us experience this, as we call to love, the greatest love miracle of all is to forgive. Right? To not dwell on the negative stuff, but to love, to celebrate the positive, right? And certainly with one another, right? There's got to be forgiveness. Otherwise, there's nobody at anybody's funeral service, because without forgiveness, right, there's no love. Without forgiveness, there's no faith in Jesus, because that's what that relationship is centered on. Right? Without forgiveness, there's no hope. Right? Faith, hope, and love. Right? That's the message I'm going to continue to give, because that's the message of our faith, our hope, and our love. That's the message of Jesus. Right? And again, I don't know where you are, but I do pray that God will comfort you in the times of grief, that He'll overwhelm you with the presence of Jesus, that your eyes will be on Him, that you'll have that hope of heaven, right? And certainly that love that God gives to you daily, and that love that He's calling you to give. So today, May 5th, 2021, may God give us all more faith in Jesus, more hope that comes from His promises, and certainly the promise of heaven, and more love that He gives to us, that perfect love, so that we can give love to one another, and certainly in that love that we would forgive one another as we are forgiven by Jesus. And so may we be blessed today, and may we all continue to refocus and move forward together in faith, hope, and love. Be blessed. See you next week.